And to do this presentation and to take this session forward, it gives me pleasure to invite Mr. Ramaswamy Gopal Krishnan, Vice President and Head East Region Brand Capital. Mr. Ramaswamy Gopal Krishnan is a certified chartered accountant and also a company secretary. He has over 25 years of experience in M&As as well as investment banking in JM Financial and Investment Consultancy Limited, Standard Chartered Bank, Aditya Birla Group, and now investment experience at Brand Capital. Currently, he spearheads the innovative structuring and legal team while also heading the business operation for the Brand Capital Eastern Region. So, ladies and gentlemen, can we put our hands together for Mr. Ramaswamy Gopal Krishnan, better known as Rama.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have a topic which is quite different from the earlier discussion that has happened. But there is one common point, which is enterprise value. I am sure both entrepreneur and PE investors would be interested in the term enterprise value. I am glad to be amongst you, entrepreneur. You are the catalyst for bringing out new and wonderful products. You know what the consumer wants even before consumer knows about it. That's why the product, like whether it is a simple thing like motor vehicle or a phone. To carry on, an entrepreneur, he has an idea. Earlier he used to run around for obtaining license. Now it is no longer the case. If he has a good business proposition, compelling business proposition, he would be reasonably able to raise funds. With these funds, he can hire men, he can procure material, and even technology is not a problem if he has money. But this liberalization has made a sea change as far as the supply chain is concerned. As far as the supply side of the market is concerned. Earlier, as a consumer, you have to buy whatever has been offered by the shopkeeper. Now, the consumer has wide choice. Few years back, there were really few handset manufacturers. It was Nokia, Motorola, Samsung, and probably another 2 or 3. Today, with liberalization and more investments coming in, this sector has become a commodity. Each product, though they have got very good features, are vying with each other to survive. Another case in point is the cars. Earlier, you could choose between Ambassador or Fiat. Today, you are spoiled for choice. Another peculiarity about consumers is they are willing to pay a different price for the same sports. For example, in case of sports like cricket, somebody pays 1,500, somebody is willing to pay 50,000, somebody is paying 10,000. They are willing to pay for the experience that they get. But all of them are seeing the same sports. Where is this money coming from? The key driver for this change in the demand side is the change in the demography. Today, the number of households in the rich and the aspirer category has increased tremendously. These are the people who are willing to pay premium and are also looking for different and new kind of product and different lifestyle. Today, market is flooded with different labels for a similar offering, and poor consumer is confused. He doesn't know what to choose. Just to summarize, in today's environment, supply side is unlimited for obvious reasons, but consumer, who is the key, is spoiled for choice, and it is always brand that stands out. In 2003, Pantaloon was nowhere in the picture in the retail category. Today it is different. In the real estate sector, specifically Bombay, one could always recall Hirankai and Reja, but today that name has changed to Lodha. There is a perception that Lodha gives a superior apartment and they are willing to pay a premium. All these, again, the common thing for whether it is a retail or the real estate example is branding. See, today consumers have very high disposable income, but he doesn't have time. And he has too many choices with no time. at the functional level, all the products have similar offering. There is hardly any variation between brand that commands the spending pattern of discerning consumer. I think earlier in the panelist, Dr. Roy had mentioned, "Jo dikta hai, wo dikta hai." I would like to modify by saying, "Jo ज़्यादा दिखता है, वो ज़्यादा दिखता है." I'll just quickly run through the benefits of branding. Apart from the other normal things, it helps in premium pricing. That explains why Montblanc, they are able to charge, say, over 10,000 or 20,000 for a pen, which a similar pen, maybe writing superior, is being sold at 200 rupees. But this premium pricing helps in contributing greatly to the enterprise value. Branding demolishes the level playing field and it gets an unfair advantage. The slide in this case explains the point. A company needs to engage and communicate with all stakeholders. It is not necessary that consumers they have to communicate with. They have to communicate to shareholders, investors, government to influence their decision making, employees to retain good talent or attract good talent, and even community at a large. There is always a misconception that branding is only for B2C companies. It is not true. Even B2B company needs to communicate. A purchase manager is always comfortable buying a product about which he is heard about it or he is familiar with it. There is an old saying, no purchaser manager has been sacked for buying an IBM product even if the product doesn't work. Now, so what is the effect of branding on enterprise value? In the next few slides, I have put together certain numbers. This is a study done by Brand Finance PLC. It's in the year 2009. Till they have been trying to assess what is the composition of tangible and intangible assets to the total enterprise value of company. Based on the study, till 2007, a whopping 35 to 40% constitute intangible assets. Intangible basically is the brand and goodwill. Post slowdown, this composition of brand intangible asset has gone up to 60%. If you actually see that quantum, the absolute value hasn't gone up, it is actually the tangible value has taken a drop. Quantum has come down substantially, due to which the share of intangible has gone up. Coming to specifics, there is a study by Interbrand as per which in Nokia's enterprise valuation around 93% is contributed by brand. Similarly for HP 80% and Louis Vuitton. But these are not stray cases, there are many other cases like this. You have got Nike, Avon and so. So the brand plays a good role not only as far as the product in the marketplace is concerned, but also in the stock market. There is a study that has been referred in Business Week. It says that in case of a rising market, companies with branded product rise faster than the general market, and vice versa is also true. In case of a falling market, companies with brand fall at a slower rate. I have tried to correlate two sets of figures. There is a top 50 most valuable brands brought out by Interbrand, and I tried to relate that with FT 500 companies. And the surprising result is that all the top 10 most valuable brands also feature in the top 50 enterprise value company as per FT 500, which conveys that yes, brands substantially contribute to the enterprise value. But these are all not limited to the consumer facing companies. You have in this list non-consumer facing companies. You have Cisco, Oracle and others. Another conclusion of this exercise is out of the top 50 enterprise value company globally, 50% of them also figure in the most valuable brands, which says a big thing. So to conclude, yes, brand definitely helps you add to your enterprise value. But how does the entrepreneur goes about? Entrepreneur for a growing business, he is always in a catch-22 situation. He has a dilemma whether to allocate the resources for acquiring physical assets, managing working capital, or for building brands. He has limited conviction on advertising because 50% of advertising works and 50% doesn't, and nobody knows which one works. And he ends up holding back on brand building and acquires physical assets. This also becomes easy for him because lenders are willing to finance physical asset because they get a security out of it. However, there is a solution for entrepreneurs who believe in branding. Brand capital provides long-term funding solution for companies to build their brand. With the result, enterprises can conserve their limited cash resources for acquiring physical assets and managing working capital, and brand capital supports the company in building brand, and both together grow the business. One more challenges that is faced by an entrepreneur is the mindset. Entrepreneur believes branding as an expense. In fact, branding is an investment. Branding is the only asset in the balance sheet of the company apart from land, which appreciates. All other assets depreciates, provided the brand is managed well. Let me also caution that brand is not a substitute for quality and performance. Branding only amplifies or magnifies the intrinsic value of the product offering. Moving on, I have a few questions, answer to which decides the business strategy and approach thereafter. Do you want to be a dominant player in one market or a strong player in all markets? Do you want to fight market share or create new market like Nema? Do you want to fight competition on price or you want to command price premium? Do you want to push your product through promotions or create consumer pull? Do you want to be one amongst million or brand sought out after million? Wait for business to fund brand building or build your business and brand together. See, if answer to most of the question is B, then you should be investing in brand. In earlier said, most of the names that I have picked up were all MNC brands and a global company. But the same is also true for companies in India, whatever may be the size. One such company is Thyrocare, it's in the diagnostic business. The promoter of Thyrocare, Dr. Velumani, believed in branding. And I'll just place a small AV to illustrate a point.
You may have the services cost effectively delivering the best of the services, but if the market does not know, how would you be able to establish a turnover? These were the questions which were running in our mind when we encountered a concept called as a brand capital. We have built up on our brand to get a visibility in the nooks and corners of the country. We today grow around 40% year over year. That extra 10% growth I attribute to the investments we made in building up Aarogyam as a brand. So any entrepreneur who has a scalable business, a business which is not known to market, and a business which does not grow because the market does not know about it, I bet brand capital is the best idea, concept to be associated with.
Thyrocare in 10 years' time has grown from a 5 crore turnover company to 120 crore turnover company. Profit has increased to 35 crores And from a negligible capital, today the enterprise value of the company is 1,200 crores. He also has a PE investor sitting in the company. He believed in branding and it paid off. Re-emphasizing my point. Thank you. And open to questions.
As you said that branding is not like it does not ensure quality and service. Means I'd like to get a more broader view on this, like how means if you don't deliver the quality and how your brand can grow.
No, that is a prerequisite. If the brand doesn't have the quality and performance, in the short term, yes, by high velocity advertising and brand building, you may be able to still achieve sales. But if the product is not good, you will fade off. Consumer will definitely realize what it is, and it doesn't then.
So basically the branding should be backed by the quality of
Absolutely, it is not a substitute. It only helps you to differentiate among other products in the same category.
Good afternoon, myself Surali Kanoria. You have already clarified that this brand building exercise is not only limited to the B2C, it is also for the B2B sector. There is one confusion in my mind. We are in automobile component industry, so our customers are limited. Means our OEMs are the customers. We are not dealing with the retail consumers, etc. So how to proceed for this brand building exercise?
See, even if you are supplying to OEM sector, so there are various ways where the brand helps you. It helps you get good talent, because I heard in the earlier discussion also getting a good talent is difficult. You need to retain this talent. So that in doing better, in each purchaser, everything equal, quality, other products are similar. You find it is a difference. So it works in that mind space. Thank you very much. Sure. I can't hear you.
Suppose for an initial entrepreneurs and he's having two companies and both companies' vision and missions are similar together, but the products are little bit different. Then how for two companies, how you promote what are the action as required to be done by the entrepreneur to promote its two brands?
No, you are saying the same entrepreneur is having two different companies, but
the
similar product.
I think similar kind of products.
My colleague here, PE investors would agree that such an entrepreneur should merge these two companies. Otherwise, there is a conflict of interest between stakeholders of both the companies. It really doesn't help him to have two independent companies having similar product.
Similar product in the sense one is into consulting, one other is into products. So different.
No, these are two independent products.
Okay. So you propose to have two different brands for this, or
no? Definitely, you are communicating to two different sets of people. So depending upon to whom you are communicating, definitely you need to have. Thank you.